Attorney General.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise tonight to speak about the Territory Coordinator legislation, and I just want to pick out some of the things that I've heard from those opposite today and this evening about the Territory Coordinator bill. The first thing that I've heard a couple of times today, Madam Speaker, is the fact that they believe that the vast majority of Territorians are against this bill. I heard that time and time today, and it's just simply not true. There were about 560-odd submissions in writing. There was about 30-odd sessions throughout the Territory, and there's all these numbers about people who have put things through, but that's still a very small number. Even if that number is, say, 600 at a conservative number of people who have put in submissions, that is a small number of Territorians compared to the 250-odd thousand Territorians who did vote for change, and that's why we're in government now. There's 17 of us compared to only 4 people in Labor who they voted out. So it's not a poll. The submissions that come for the Territory Coordinator legislation wasn't a poll. It wasn't an election. It was a sample of people who did want to put their voices forward to be heard, and I think that is a democratic process that should occur, and it did occur. And this legislation is the most scrutinised, the most open and transparent piece of legislation that we have seen in probably a decade in this chamber. It's been through so many layers, which we haven't seen, especially over the last 8 years when it was Labor. They didn't even have a scrutiny committee. So I just wanted to set the record straight in that regard, because I did hear it from a number of members from those opposite. The other highlight that I'd like to point out was the fact that the assertion that the Minerals Council is someone that the Territory Government shouldn't represent, and they're not our constituents, which I find fascinating because, firstly, the people at the Minerals Council of Australia in the Northern Territory are our constituents. They do work here. But they also have a membership, and the guests who were at the breakfast this morning, and there were about nearly 100 people at that breakfast, they are people who literally employ thousands and thousands of Territorians, the Territorians that all of us in this chamber represent collectively. And those Territorians that they employ are the families who rely on their incomes, and from some of the guests that were in that room who employ these Territorians, they pay handsomely to their staff the wages that they get, and those families rely on that income so they can put food on the table, they can raise their families, and they can have a nice lifestyle here in the Territory. So I just wanted to set the record straight on that. We are here to represent Territorians. Members and the guests of the Mineral Council breakfast are the ones who employ our Territorians. The other part that was a little bit disturbing that I've heard a couple of times today was the fact that there was assertions that nobody in the inquiry could point to an example of a project which would have been impacted by a Territory Coordinator legislation. And I believe that was also said in the media, that there wasn't an example to point to. And yet I read in the report, the one that was tabled this morning by the member for Wanguri, that the Chandler mine in the electorate of Gorja was given as an example that actually moved from Gorja to Western Australia because of time delays. So that is the reality that we're facing here in the Territory. That reality is the status quo, the fact that we do lose projects. We haven't had a major project in the Territory over the last 8 years. That is not the status quo that Territorians want to accept.
Take your seat, Minister. What's your point of order, member for Gorja?
Thank you. I just want to help the Attorney General.
No, you don't need to help the Attorney General. Take your seat. That's not a point of order. We're not here to help each other. Minister, you've got the call.
Gosh, he takes everything so seriously. If it's the electorate of Namatjira, that is perfectly fine. It's down in Central Australia somewhere, the Chandler mine. You know where it's not, actually? It's not in Central Australia because it's actually in WA now, because it didn't get off the ground under your government that you were a senior minister in, and here you are trying to point out points of order for me. I think it's...
Minister, can you just pause there? Can you direct your comments through me? And that goes for everyone in the chamber. Talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. and I find it interesting that the member for Goyja stands up and gives me a point of order on how to have my speech. I mean, he had his say already. He's already contributed to this debate, as has many other people in this chamber. So on that note, I will continue my speech, Madam Speaker. But I have set the record straight on a number of those points that I've heard here today so far. Madam Speaker, this is the most important piece of economic reform the Territory has seen in a decade, and it will be a key component to unlocking the Territory's full potential as the best place in the country to live, visit, work and invest. The Territory Coordinator falls in line with our government's focus on transparency, accountability and strategy to ensure we're delivering meaningful change with real results for all Territorians. This streamlined approach to decision-making will replace the current approach, which is complex and fragmented. Our economy has been doing it tough and has for many years under the previous Labor government. And as the Minister for Tourism and Hospitality, I know how important rebuilding our economy is for our tourism and hospitality industry, because this will be a key in attracting tourists and residents back to the Territory. And just as we will not accept the status quo for our tourism and hospitality industry, we will not accept the status quo when it comes to rebuilding our economy. And that's why we're introducing this important piece of legislation, the Territory Coordinator. And that is the difference, Madam Speaker, between Labor and a CLP government, because this government will not bury its head in the sand. We are taking the bull by the horns, we are changing the rules of the game, and we will not shy away from doing whatever it takes to rebuild our economy. We are forging a new way forward for the Territory with our government's fresh approach to set this path after this reset, it will be for our children and our grandchildren. The Territory Coordinator is not about bypassing protections or community concerns. These projects are vital to rebuilding our economy. And with the Territory Coordinator, this will no longer feel out of reach. Madam Speaker, we must continue pushing for a better future for our Territory. As a born and bred Territorian, I have seen my home change through the years. The Northern Territory isn't what it once was, and I know it can be better than this. We must restore our reputation as being a land of opportunity, not as being the place where investment goes to die. A reputation the Northern Territory was gaining under the previous Labor government. The Territory Coordinator will flip that reputation on its head and position our land as a top destination for investors and business opportunities. We want the Territory to be the most competitive place in the country to do business. Whether it's starting a new business or expanding an existing one, more businesses mean more jobs, which opens more opportunities for people to come to the Territory and for us to grow our population. This is a vital piece of the jigsaw in getting our economy moving forward, as a larger economy and population will boost scale, lower costs, enhance workforce flexibility, leading to a more sustainable economy. And the Territory Coordinator will play a key role in this. It will attract more private investment with certainty, which will increase our overall economic growth. Our Approvals Fast Track Task Force is another step that we have taken to remove unnecessary burdens to reduce approval timeframes so that we can get our economy moving back in the right direction and faster. We've recently welcomed, Madam Speaker, more flight routes into the Territory with 95,000 additional seats bound to and from the Territory this year from Qantas and Jetstar alone. As we continue our efforts in this space, and not to mention the AirAsia to Kuala Lumpur and to Denpasar, which are major international airports and allow people to come and live here and connect back overseas, sometimes where their families are from or sometimes where they just want to go and visit. Additionally, we've delivered the best payroll tax reforms in the country to give businesses the certainty they need to come to the Territory, put down roots here and grow. We are determined to make the Territory the most competitive place in the country to live, work and invest. And we will not tell Territorians how to do business. We will support them to do business. Because we cannot keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. and we will not sit idle like Labor did, because we have seen the devastating impact that this has had on our economy. Our debt ballooned, Madam Speaker, from $2 million to $11 billion. That's just in over 8 years. It's absolutely devastating. But repairing the budget isn't our only focus. We must increase investment to make a real impact and difference to the lives of Territorians. A key area for investment is our mineral exploration spending, which has fallen by almost half compared to this time last year, according to the latest figures of the Australian Bureau of Statistics. We are fortunate to live on a land rich in critical minerals, which we must use to our advantage, and the Territory Coordinator will play a role in this, ensuring that projects of significance are fought for, started quickly and completed on time, because that's what Territorians deserve.
Minister, can I just pause you there? It's almost 6 o'clock, and so you're okay to continue your speech later.
Government business, order of the day, standing the name of Mrs Finocchiaro, the Territory Coordinator Bill 2025, Serial 17. Resumption of debate on the question the bill be now read a second time.
Attorney General, Member for Brennan, you have 20 minutes remaining of your speech.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Territory Coordinator will streamline processes, create more jobs and unlock benefits for communities across the Territory, including in our regional areas. This legislation is crucial for getting projects off the ground so we can get our economy moving in the right direction and unlock the flow of investment, which we so desperately need. We will not sit back and wait, Madam Speaker, because this government is about taking action. We are making the Northern Territory that attractive place to do business. We want to encourage investment, create long-term sustainable employment for Territorians. We promised Territorians that we would reduce crime, rebuild the economy and restore our lifestyle. And with our 5 strategic economic priorities of being the best place to do business, building a bigger, better workforce, delivering for Australia, unlocking regional growth and connecting the Territory, we will rebuild the economy and we will increase our capacity to invest in the great Territory lifestyle that we have, which is why I'm so proud of our Territory Coordinator legislation. It's as part of our year of action to deliver certainty and security so that we can ensure a brighter future for all Territorians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.